Hi, welcome to all. In this video, we are going to learn about setup and hold timing in digital circuits. Okay, let's get started. Setup time is the time the data has to arrive before the clock to ensure correct sampling. Looking at this picture, if you see the data at the first clock edge and the second clock edge is not changing during the setup timing window, which is fine. However, if you look at the data at the third clock edge is actually changing during the setup timing window and hence causing the setup violation. Hold time is the time the data has to be stable after the clock to ensure correct sampling. If you see this picture, the data at the first and second clock edge is stable during the hold timing window, which is fine. However, if you look at the third clock edge, the data here is changing during the hold timing window and hence causing the hold violation. Talking about the timing constraints, there are two main problems that can arise in synchronous logic: max delay and the min delay. The max delay, the data doesn't have enough time to pass from one register to the next before the next clock edge. And max delay violations are a result of a slow data path, including the register's setup time. So that's why they are often called setup path. On the other hand, the min delay, the data path is so short that it passes through several registers during the same clock cycle. And min delay violations are a result of a short data path, causing the data to change before the T hold has passed. Therefore, they are often called the hold path. Okay, looking into the timing verification of synchronous designs. So the fundamental objective here is all registers must reliably capture data at the desired clock edges. So in this diagram, the flip-flop 1 is launching the data and flip-flop 2 is capturing it. And we'll take a look at setup and hold checks for this flip-flop 2. Okay, now let's look at the setup time in detail with some timing diagrams. Let me use this example circuit to explain setup constraint, and we'll see what makes up our clock cycle. After the clock rises at the flip-flop 1 clock pin, it takes clock to Q delay, which is TCQ, to propagate to this point, which is Q output of flip-flop 1. And then the data goes through this combinational logic through U2 and U3 here to reach D input of flip-flop 2. For the data to meet the setup constraint at flip-flop 2, so it has to arrive at this point T setup time before the next clock. So as you can see here in this timing diagram, the data launched at flip-flop 1 is reaching the flip-flop 2 D pin before the data required time. So the data required time is nothing but the time period minus the setup time of your flip-flop 2. And since the data is arriving even before the data required time, we have some positive slack here. And you can also notice the data is held stable during the setup timing window to make sure the data is reliably captured inside flip-flop 2. In general, our timing path is a race between the data arrival starting with the launching clock edge and the data capture one cycle later. And the setup constraint usually defines the maximum operating frequency. This is the slack equation for the setup. Slack is the difference between the data required time and the data arrival time, and it should be greater than or equal to 0 for a timing path to meet the setup constraint. Let's take a look at the timing report for the max delay. As you can see here, we have 4 different sections. I will walk you through each of these sections briefly here. In the header part, we have the information about the start point, end point of the timing path, and the path group, which is the capture clock here, and then followed by the path type. This can be max or min. So in this case, we are looking at the max delay. So meaning we are going to look at the longest path, also called as the worst path in the design, considering the max delays Okay, so the data arrival time is the summation of your launch clock latency and then the clock to queue delay of your launch flop and then the delays from the combinational logic. So all this gets added to the data arrival time. And then in the data required time, we add up the time period, which is 4 nanosecond here, to the capture clock latency, and then we subtract the setup time of the capture flip-flop. But do note that in reality, we have another component here called the uncertainty, which specifies the window in which the clock edge changes. Okay, and this uncertainty models the jitter and any other guard bands that we have for the design. And then the last section is about the slack calculation. So as we have seen just now, so the slack is calculated as required time minus the arrival time for the setup check. So in this case, we have the positive slack. So the timing path is meeting the setup check. And please note that based on the design requirements, we can also perform the setup check at 0 cycle, meaning we can perform the setup check at the same edge, and also we can perform the setup check after multiple cycles. And we can perform these non-default setup checks by defining the multi-cycle paths. Okay, so if you just create a clock and without any multi-cycle path commands, so by default the timing analysis tools does the setup check after one cycle. Now let's look at the hold timing with some timing diagrams. Let me use this example circuit to explain the hold constraint, which is also called the min constraint. Hold problems occur due to the shortest logic in the design. So due to this, the logic changes even before the T hold time of flip-flop 2 has passed. This is not a function of cycle time, it is relative to a single clock edge. But again, there is an exception to that. I'll talk about that in a minute. Now let's see how the hold check is performed. Once the clock rises at the flip-flop, launch flip-flop, so the data at Q pin changes after the clock to Q delay, and then the data at flip-flop 2D pin changes after the signal passing through this combinational logic delay. Since the data at flip-flop 2D had to stay stable for T hold time after the clock edge, the change at this point has to be at least T hold time after the clock edge. Okay, now let's take a look at this timing diagram to understand more on this. So as you can see here, the data which is launched at the flip-flop 1 is actually after the data required time. So it is not corrupting our previous data. So please do note that the hold check is performed to check the validness of the previous data, whether it is reliably getting captured or not. So as you can see here, our data is being held stable for more than the required time. So hence we have the positive slack here. This is the equation for the slack for hold. So here we are subtracting the data required time from the data arrival time to get the slack number, and this should be greater than or equal to 0 for the timing path to meet the min check. Now let's take a look at the min delay report. This report also has 4 different sections like we saw in max delay report. Let's go through these sections briefly here. So in the header part, the first 3 rows are same as in the max delay report, whereas the last row, which is the path type, is now changed to min. That means we are going to look at the shortest path or the fastest path in the design by considering the min delays. So the next section is the data arrival time. This is basically the summation of your launch clock latency and then the clock to Q delay of the launch flop and then the combinational logic delay. And the required time is basically the capture clock latency is being added to the hold time of your capture flop. And do note that, like I mentioned in the max delay report, so In reality, we have a component called uncertainty to model the jitter and other design margins, and that is not shown here. So if you notice this, since this is a min delay check, both launch and capture are being checked at 0. So we are basically checking at the same edge. And the final section is about the slack calculation. So here we are subtracting the data required time from the data arrival time to get the slack number. And in this case, we have the positive slack. That means our timing path is meeting the hold check. Talking about the hold check dependency on the cycle time, hold check does depend on the clock period if your design has half cycle paths. Meaning, if your design has valid timing paths from a positive edge triggered flip-flop to a negative edge triggered flip-flop and vice versa, so in that case, change in frequency will change the distance between the two adjacent edges, and hence that will cause the hold check to change. To summarize, for setup constraints for a single cycle check, the data has to propagate fast enough to be captured by the next clock edge. And we calculate the slack for setup by subtracting the data arrival time from the data required time, and this should be greater than or equal to 0 for a timing path to meet the setup constraint. This sets the maximum operating frequency for the circuit. And let's say when you have set of failures in the design, we can always just slow down the clock to make it work. For hold constraints and for the same edge check, the data path delay has to be long enough so it is not accidentally captured by the same clock edge. And we calculate the slack for hold by subtracting the data required time from the data arrival time, and it should be greater than or equal to 0 for a timing path to meet the hold constraint. And this is independent of the clock period for the same edge check. And in order to successfully tape out the design, we must not have hold violations in the design. Thanks for watching the video. If you like the video, please help to like, share and subscribe for more videos. See you next time. Bye.